Bueno, mi gente. Tonight is my Smackdown review, and I'm doing this one solo. God's gift, Tyler Taylor, is in Canada. He finally made it, guys. Can you believe it? Wow, he had an absolute banger of a day at the airport. He got to the airport at 7:30 last night. He was supposed to head out at 7:30 this morning due to travel, and somehow, some way, he just kept getting canceled flights after canceled flights, and then something was wrong with the plane. Oh my God, can you imagine something like that? Listen, guys, I'm going to try to do my best here to do this without Tyler. So here goes. Tonight was the go home show for SmackDown. And what a go home show it was. We open up SmackDown with who many consider to be the GOAT, John Cena, opening up the show. He comes out, he cuts a pretty basic John Cena promo. He's got new gear. He's representing himself pretty well. He looks like he's in better shape than he was in at WrestleMania. And he's interrupted by Jimmy Uso. I mean, I thought that was such a weird dynamic. What are they trying to play with that? Why would Jimmy Uso interrupt John Cena? I think that's a story that we should not ignore. I think it'll have potential for a feud in the future, possibly Survivor Series. We'll see. But we do know that John Cena will be at the next two PLEs that has been confirmed by so many wrestling pundits. But going back to this show, we have that. We have Jimmy Uso. We have John Cena. And out of nowhere, after Jimmy Uso tries to dress down John Cena, he tries to go promo for promo, word for word with John Cena. That is not the best way to go. He does that, and he tries for a super kick. Cena catches him, and in classic fashion, he gives him the STFU or the attitude adjustment, whatever you prefer to call it. I thought it was pretty good segment. I was pretty happy with what we saw. From there, we go backstage to Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. And they are asked immediately, what do they think of John Cena and the way he just showed back up on SmackDown? To which they look a little bit annoyed, only to laugh it off. And Austin Theory reminds the world that he defeated John Cena at WrestleMania. They talk about their next potential feuds and their tag match that they're having in a couple of minutes with Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar. And I mean, honestly, it was pretty meat and potatoes, nothing special, a little generic for my taste, especially with Grayson Waller, who I look at as one of the best talkers in the game right now, or best young talkers, I should say. He's still a while away from being that top dude. So we go to the ring, and what I found very interesting, and I don't know if anybody else like reads into this, but LWO, the Latino World Order, they come out pretty much just the four of them. And then they wait there at the top of the ramp, and Rey Mysterio is introduced with his own theme music. I think that's really telling to me. I don't know if they're trying to separate him from the LWO, if that was the intention that they were making. But to be quite honest with you, I thought for sure that he was the leader of this faction, that we would get more Rey Mysterio with the LWO to help prop those boys up and to prop up Zelina Vega. So we move on, and the match itself, nothing special, nothing crazy in the match. It's a pretty basic wrestling match for the four superstars that are in there. All four excellent workers, really good pros, and it wraps up pretty quickly. I mean, I don't really understand why they wrapped up the match so fast. I felt like SmackDown was a little bit rushed tonight. It wasn't your typical go-home show. We go from that to a Bobby Lashley promo where he introduces the Street Profits, the new and improved Street Profits. They cut a basic promo pretty much saying that the world is theirs, they're taking over. And as they're walking to the back, we hear Kevin Owens' theme music. And I said this on my live on TikTok, and I'm very curious to see if you guys agree. Was this the first time that KO and Sammy have been on SmackDown actually wrestling in a long time? I couldn't remember, and I was trying to do research. I don't remember when their match happened before. But they come out and they're wrestling the other two members, Joaquin and I forget the last guy's name. Oh my god, it's not like I run a wrestling podcast here, guys. Sorry. Boom. And they wrestle the other two members of the LWO. They get a quick win. And what I found, besides this match being super rushed, what I found that was really interesting was the fact that Sami Zayn cut a Kevin Owens style promo. And he was essentially bagging on the Judgment Day. Like, we're going to go in there, we're going to defeat you, you're not going to be able to beat us because we're on another level. Kind of one of these like rah promos, and he was really yelling into it. I thought it was really interesting the way this match went. I didn't think they did anything for the LWO. This felt like a squash match to me. And I know we're supposed to keep Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn strong for tomorrow night, but I mean, what a way to do that. So we move on from here to having a segment or the entrance of Damage Control. Damage Control comes out all together, and we know that Bayley will be wrestling Shotzi Blackheart tonight. This match was spectacular. The most time that I've seen the women get on a televised show in a long time. They had a 2-segment match, and I thought it was exceptional. I was really, really surprised with the match itself. I thought that Shotzi displayed herself really well. And to be quite honest with you, I'm wondering if I'm honestly wondering if the intention here is to make Shotzi like a superstar babyface now that she's got her haircut and we know her story. And I know that that seems a little crude or lewd, and that's not what I'm alluding to. What I will say is that I felt as if they could have done a little bit more with how this show went on. And I felt like what was the point of having Shotzi come out and wrestle Bayley the way she did, only to, you know, I don't know. It just felt like it was all geared to put over Charlotte Flair. I didn't really understand the need for Charlotte Flair. As I look at my notes here, it wasn't I guess it does help that Shotzi got the win, but what was the purpose of Charlotte Flair feuding with Damage Control? Is it just because EO is the champion? Is that the point? Because Charlotte Flair, with anything involving any member of the Four Horsewomen, I think that's immediately where everybody's eyes go. We're going right towards, are we going to get another Charlotte versus Bayley match? Is that the intention? Is that where we're going? I did enjoy it very much. I did accidentally skip over a segment before this match, and we did get The Miz and LA Knight going bar for bar in the ring, people. I mean, I got to be honest with you. LA Knight has not really been able to keep up with The Miz. The Miz's promos seem crisp. They seem cleaner than normal, and he's not sticking to the same stuff. He's actually done a really good job of moving forward and trying to paint LA Knight as a mark. I mean, if you look at the way he's talking about LA Knight and how he's saying that he's like a 2003 throwback and he can't come up with anything original, he starts to point out that LA Knight was in his own reality show and he was the first one eliminated. I'm excited for this feud. I at the end of my SmackDown review here, I will give my predictions for Payback tomorrow. But for right now, I gotta say, LA Knight versus The Miz, it's checking all the boxes for me. I just feel like it might be a little bit rushed. I didn't expect a singles match immediately. It's kind of got that AEW vibe. Like, let's not give them enough time. Let's not give them like a month of buildup. Let's try right away to jump into don't mess from the Dungeon Podcast here says in the chat, don't mess with Professor, your Rebay's favorite wrestler. Oh my god, listen. You tell Mr. Umberto that LA Knight is mid. I'm sorry. I don't mean that. I'm sorry, guys. He's a pretty solid worker. I don't see anything spectacular about him. And so far, I was expecting this to be more like CM Punk and MJF level. Like these two were going to go out there and they were going to raise the bar for each other. But that's not what we're getting. I feel like the Miz, like, se lo está comiendo, man. He's eating him alive. Like that's what it feels like. The LA Knight's not able to keep up. If he's going to keep with the shtick that he's doing right now, it's kind of making the Miz into a babyface to the crowd. But LA Knight is super over, and there's a massive crowd and a massive following behind him. So I'm sure we're going to find out more tomorrow night. What I thought was really interesting was that we move from here to a segment where Adam Pearce is interviewing Mia Yim. And before Mia really gets to get into the crux of her, whatever she's talking with Adam Pearce, Jimmy Uso comes back. And Jimmy Uso was in 3, 4 different segments tonight. I thought that was pretty interesting. That was a lot of Jimmy Uso usage. I mean, he has the segment with John Cena. He has the segment with Mia and Adam Pearce. And then he gets confronted as OC tells Mia that it's not a big deal. Let's stay out of bloodline business. And AJ Styles is like, no, we need to follow up with this. And he goes and confronts Jimmy. And what it looks like is that the main event is going to be AJ Styles versus Jimmy Uso, which we know would be a banger. But then we are rewarded with an even better main event. We have Solo Sikoa attacking AJ Styles from behind and then laying down the law and telling Jimmy Uso, you leave the bloodline when we say you can leave the bloodline. He speaks his piece and he leaves. But we know in wrestling, nobody really leaves the arena. So we go on from here to AJ Styles challenging Solo Sikoa. And honestly, I was really happy with this main event. I haven't seen AJ Styles in a main event in a very long time. Hershey's a massive fan base, massive wrestling fan base. And to be honest with you, whenever I go to the Hershey shows, which I should be very truthful, I had a chance to go to the Hershey show tonight because I live here in Pennsylvania. But I also had my fantasy football draft at 8 p.m. tonight, guys. So it's my money league. I've been doing it since 2009. So I had to go live on TikTok to watch the show and talk to people. And then I was trying to do my fantasy draft all at the same time. So wrestling and football, guys, that's what my night has been filled with. Honestly, Solo Sikoa is slowly but surely becoming one of, if not the most underrated talents. I don't think people are talking enough about him. I feel like he should be more put up there like in the upper mid card. I think what he's missing is possibly a mid card championship. So I would like to see maybe Rey Mysterio retain tomorrow, but we'll get into that. Maybe possibly what Rey Mysterio does after. Whoa, guys, as I'm watching Rampage here, we got Hangman Adam Page, or as From the Dungeon podcast likes to say, Wish Edge? Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I'm a massive Adam Page fan. No promo. Unbelievable. Oh my God. Solo is overrated. Wow, that's a hot take, guy. That's a massive hot take. I mean, I think you have to go back to NXT. He has lots of charisma. I think that when you come to the main roster, they try to strip you down to nothing and build you to the new audience of the main roster, because I know a lot of people think that you translate from NXT to the main roster very well, but as we've seen in the past, that doesn't always work. Very few people come in as hot as they were in NXT. I can only think of maybe Charlotte, Sasha, Becky, but even people that came up to the main roster that were a big deal in NXT, like a Karrion Kross, they don't come up and they don't really do that well. Samoa Joe even coming up. Yeah, he did have that world title match at Great Balls of Fire with Brock Lesnar, but he didn't really translate that well. And Samoa Joe is miles apart better than Solo Sikoa. I'm not even going to put them in the same category. But I think we're in for a lot of big things from Solo. He's a solid in-ring performer. And I think if given more time to talk, now that Roman's kind of MIA for a little bit, I think he could slowly but surely draw you in. He's got a really hot personality. I think we just got to give it some time, guys. Let's be a little patient. He's been the silent but deadly type of heel for the Bloodline. He's been the enforcer, and now he's going to get to show a little bit more of his charisma because he doesn't have Roman Reigns there anymore. So I'm pretty excited. I thought this show ended pretty good. AJ Styles hits Solo, and it looks like he's about to catch a W. Uh, draw, draw you into the yawn. Oh my god. Oh my god. What a brutal. Oh my god. What brutal critiques here. But so AJ Styles looks like he's about to catch a W against Solo, which is, I mean, only a couple of people have done. Well, honestly, I can only say what Cody. Is Cody the only person that's beaten Solo clean? And just when you think he's about to do that, here we go. Even though he's supposed to leave the arena and we watched him walk out the door and grab his suitcase and leave, here's Jimmy. For some reason, Jimmy helps Solo win, and then he goes to the ring to kind of give like props to Solo, but it looks like Solo's not happy. He tries to give him the Samoan spike only to be stopped by Paul Heyman. Now, Paul Lee, he's definitely like the guy pulling the strings, and you can tell that he's the manipulator in this whole thing, as Jey Uso has pointed out in the past. But they don't have a real interaction. Jimmy turns around, super kicks AJ Styles, and we kind of end with that. I mean, we kind of end with a little spat between AJ and Jimmy, but I mean, it was a pretty generic SmackDown. I got to be honest with you. My favorite part of SmackDown tonight was Shotzi and Bayley. And I loved, as much as you hear me complain on here that I don't like when shows are displaying programs from the other show. Like if I watch SmackDown, I want to watch SmackDown. I don't want to watch Raw. But because this was a go-home show and we know Seth Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura is the main event tomorrow, we needed to have that program in tonight. That's what we needed. We needed to talk about that. So we got to see the stunning work that Shinsuke Nakamura has done. The heels heel, that classic Japanese superstar cutting these promos, these vignettes from the back, wearing his gi, working on his jiu-jitsu and his kickboxing with his MMA background, only for Seth Rollins to continue to just raise the level with his new like Oscar worthy performances. I mean, this is the biggest range that I've seen Seth Rollins display. He's never really been vulnerable. Even when he came back from injury after tearing his ACL in his match with Kane and having to relinquish the WWE Championship, I felt like he didn't really play that like, oh, my knee's not fully ready. But the way he's selling this back injury right now, it is absolutely some of the best work Seth Rollins has done in a very long time. And I'm looking forward to this, and I really hope that it doesn't end tomorrow. So, guys, from that, before I jump into the Payback predictions, I want to point out that from the Dungeon Podcast, he just had an awesome comment here. Shotzi's new hairdo is awesome. Absolutely. She looks beautiful. Just everything about her. I love the way she carries herself. And some people just look great with it. Sarah Deep, she was able to like really pull it off too. So I'm excited about that. So on to Payback, guys. Let's see. Let's look at this card. I am very excited for what's to come. Payback tomorrow is kind of one of these shows where I think it's meant to lead us into future stories. I don't think any story finishes at Payback, to be honest with you. So let's start with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Judgment Day. Here's my honest to God thought. I think Kevin and Sami win this match. I think JD McDonough costs Damian and Finn Balor the match. I think it is the way it's presented is that Damian Priest is the reason they lost. So we know, the person watching from home, we know that it was JD's fault. But I think the way the story is supposed to be told to us is that JD was trying to help and Damian somehow not allowing the help to come. And he's the reason that they lose. And Finn Balor takes another loss. He gets his shoulders pinned to the mat. And the reason I think it needs to play out this way, we're going to talk about it in a little bit. So after that, I want to go on to The Miz versus L.A. Knight. I think The Miz wins this match. I don't think that this feud can stop right here. I think that it's going to progress into a bigger story. The Miz is one of these cats like Chris Jericho. He does not want to do a one-off program. And he wants to make everything the top thing on the card. So I'm expecting The Miz to win this match with some kind of schmoz, a roll up, holding the tights, putting his foot on the ropes, something like that. That's exactly what I predict there. So far, to review my picks, I have Kevin and Sammy winning, Damian Priest's fault. I have The Miz beating LA Knight, which I think it's going to peeve a lot of people, but listen, guys, you just have to wait around for the story. The story that's being told to us is not a 3-week program. There's just no way that that's what Triple H is doing. I think LA Knight has been positioned to be with The Miz for a reason. There's a reason he picked him. This is very much like Damian Priest and Bad Bunny. It's very much like Stephen Amell and Cody Rhodes. I think this is meant for The Miz to help get LA Knight ready for that next step. And whether you like it or not, The Miz is one of those exceptional talents who he's believable in the main event scene. He's believable as a mid-carder. He's believable in the main event scene. Whatever title he holds is the top title on that show. He's a really solid pro, and I'm very excited for that match. So I got The Miz winning. Moving on to the grudge match, the steel cage match between the man, Becky Lynch, and Stratus faction guaranteed herself, Trish Stratus, the legend. Now, I feel like the fans have kind of grown tired of this angle. I think they've kind of had enough. Like, we don't want this anymore. Move Becky onto something else. But I think people they're impatient. Everybody wants Becky versus Rhea. That story is slowly going to progress. I'm not predicting that Becky's going to win the Royal Rumble. I am predicting that it's going to be Becky versus Rhea at WrestleMania. So I think they're both going to be positioned as super strong, as we will see here. Becky wins this match, moving Trish Stratus to possibly move on to another thing. Maybe she turns babyface after this, because the rumors are that she's going from here to Rhea Ripley. I don't think she needs to win this match to go to Rhea Ripley. I like the idea of her taking the job, raising Becky's hand, kind of accepting defeat. Like, you know what? I'm considered the greatest of all time. She's the greatest of this generation. That's the way they're playing it on television for us. And I think that's how we move on. And then quite possibly we have Rhea and Trish Stratus moving on to their own program. Now, as much as I want Raquel to win, because I think it would be phenomenal, because I love the way Raquel Rodriguez's character has been portrayed, I think Raquel versus Rhea Ripley is going to be hard-hitting. I think Rhea's going to bump her ass off for her. I am very excited for this match. Honestly, this and the main event are my two most anticipated matches on this card. I am super excited for this. This might be the show stealer, because if I was positioning Seth Rollins versus Nakamura as a continuing story, there's no way I would allow them to be match of the night. I would want Seth to sell that back injury all day and then to escape with a win. But Raquel Rodriguez has definitely put herself in the right position to be a future star, and I'm very excited for what she's potentially able to do as a WWE Women's Champion. But I think it's too soon for her. I think we need more layers to her character, and I'm very excited at the fact that we finally have something booked for Rhea Ripley, and this is her first real feud coming out of WrestleMania. She hasn't really had a real program. There's been no challengers. There's been no threat. You did not think she was going to lose the title to Zelina. You did not think she was going to lose the title to Natty. And you did not think she was going to lose to Indy or Candice. So this is the one time where people, I believe, are going into the show thinking, wow, are they going to pull this like upset? I just don't think they do it. Rhea Ripley she's too popular. She's too important to WWE right now. And I think her title is positioned, as much as I want to see the title off of her, because I feel like Rhea Ripley doesn't need the championship to get over. I just truly believe that she wins, because I don't think she's dropping the title until after WrestleMania. That's my honest opinion. So moving on from there, I got Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Austin Theory. This match right here to me is kind of odd because, in my personal opinion, I think this match was never supposed to happen. That's my honest opinion. I think what happened was Rey Mysterio is just the sure thing. But don't be surprised if Dom costs Rey Mysterio the championship. This is what I could see happening. I mean, it could be Grayson Waller. However, I think Austin Theory comes out and he wins his title back. I think that's what we're positioned to see. Now, if that happens, that means that he's going to feud with some baby faces. But if Rey Mysterio were to happen to win this match and then he progresses as the United States champion because they want a baby face Latino champion to hold a mid-card title, then I guess your pick has to be Rey Mysterio. But to me, honestly, I truly don't believe that. I truly don't believe that Rey Mysterio wins this match. That's just my opinion. I think Austin Theory wins this match. And now, guys, on to the main event of the evening. Seth freaking Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura. I have Seth Rollins winning this match at the very end, only to have Damian Priest come out after Nakamura lays him out, and when he's about to cash in, I think there's a schmoz between JD, Finn Balor, and John Cena. Because John Cena is the host of Payback. And as we've seen in the past, whenever there's a host, they typically ruin things. There's just never been a host that has just minded their own business. So now you know a bunch of people are going to tune in to see what Cena does tomorrow night. And I truly believe that this is what we're getting. We get John Cena versus John Cena and Seth Rollins versus the Judgment Day. And who knows? Maybe Nakamura moves on to a feud with someone else. But you think not yet Rhea loses a Mania? Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you there. I don't know if she loses at Mania. To be quite honest with you, I think that Rhea might beat Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, but that's what I see happening. So getting back to the main event, I honestly believe that this is set up, and the reason I want to just lay this out. Every rumor that's come out on the dirt sheets, whether it be Sean Ross Sapp or Bobo the Clown Dave Meltzer or Wade Keller, it seems to me that all the rumors indicate that we're not getting a successful cash-in. Whether Damian loses the briefcase to Finn Balor or to somebody else, quite possibly Cody Rhodes, or he loses his cash-in attempt tomorrow night. I don't think the Money in the Bank means as much as it used to. We got the successful cash-in. We got Io Sky. She won. She beat Bianca Belair. And I think that's all they wanted. They wanted one of them to be successful. So far, we're 100% successful rate for the women's Money in the Bank. There's been 0 failed attempts. I think there's going to be a while before we get a failed attempt for the women. I really feel like whoever wins the Money in the Bank for the women is always like the rumored person to be future world champ. That they don't really give it to a random person. Carmella was the last rando person to win. Although I do find it very funny that the very first women's Money in the Bank was won by a dude. I don't know if you guys remember that, but James Ellsworth won the first women's Money in the Bank and then gave the briefcase to Carmella. And then the internet threw a hissy fit because they didn't realize they were being worked. They made it about the lack of usage for the women. And then we, unfortunately, we had to replay the match and Carmella won. So, however it is, she held the briefcase for a long time. This is interesting, guys. From the Dungeon podcast says Rey Mysterio should retire. I honestly got to agree with you here. I do feel like he should retire because I want him to go out on top. But I thought he was going to do it at WrestleMania. I thought he was going to lose to his son and he's going to walk away. Possibly do like wrestling retirements, like once or twice a year, specialty matches. So I honestly don't know. I don't know what we're getting at here. I don't know what we're doing, why we're still putting the championship on someone like Rey Mysterio. I mean, sure, he's a legend in the sport. He's meant a lot to cruiserweights. He's meant a lot to light heavyweights. And he is a fixture in SmackDown in general. So I'm definitely excited for that match. I think Austin Theory, like, he needs something. He's definitely missing something. I got to say, I don't remember the last time that a wrestler meant less than the title than Austin Theory holding the championship. Because without the title, he's kind of lost in the shuffle. But there you go, guys. To recap my predictions for tomorrow, I have Kevin and Sammy retaining the tag titles. I have The Miz beating LA Knight. I have Austin Theory retaining his United States Championship. I have Rhea Ripley defeating Raquel Rodriguez. I have Shinsuke Nakamura beating Seth freaking Rollins. So let me know what you guys think. I appreciate you joining me this evening. Once again, I'll try my best to have some co-hosts with you next week, so we won't be doing these reviews alone. I'm excited to continue to build our platform here. If you want to follow me on other platforms, you can follow me on TikTok. That's BORI.CUA or BORILOU.C. Wow, I lost myself. I apologize, guys. I'm here not spelling well. BORICUA.LOU at TikTok. Follow me on there. I love having conversations with you. I go live for pay-per-views or premium live events, but I'm never going to stop saying pay-per-view. Sorry. I'm a 90s kid. That's what I did. So follow me on there. If you want to chat with me on Twitter, it's at Must Wrestling. And I look forward to talking with you tomorrow night after Payback. All right, guys, I'm out.